Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I am your host and beat reporter, and I have been your beat reporter covering the Jacksonville Jaguars for Sports Illustrated every single day since August 2019, and we're continuing to march through another offseason together. As always, Jacksonville Jaguars on SI delivers you the best and most comprehensive coverage of all Jacksonville Jaguars news and analysis that you will find anywhere, whether it be locally or even nationally. Jaguars on SI delivers double-digit pieces of content every single day, ranging from video and audio content to written content. And each day that the Miller Electric Center facility and Everbank Stadium had their doors open here in Jacksonville, we are boots on the ground, giving you an inside look at your favorite NFL team. Whether it's at Jaguars practices, in the offseason, during training camp, in press conferences, in the locker room, and most importantly, on game day, we're always there. So don't forget that you can find us on social media, such as Facebook and Twitter, at Jaguars on SI. You can also find us at www.si.com/NFL/Jaguars. And most importantly, never forget, all of our content is 100% free for you, the faithful fans of Duval. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. Now that free agency is wrapped up and we have given you guys 10 breakdowns on all 10 new free agents, we're moving past it. We will still obviously talk about the free agency class, etc., what it all means, and that's what we're talking about today. But the 10 breakdowns are in. I know you guys were probably ready for it, and here we go. Today's episode, and I've written about this, but it's going to be about the formula that I now believe the Jaguars are attempting to follow. I think to a T, the Jaguars are trying to follow the recent Los Angeles Rams blueprint, which is get as many picks as possible, get as many rookies on the roster, making the 53-man roster, etc., giving them a chance to compete, and taking kind of away that middle tier part of the roster who would otherwise take up cap space and take up spots on the depth chart where young rookie contracts can go. Now, the Rams haven't obviously always operated this way. They traded a ton of first-round picks to get a chance to win their Super Bowl a few years ago. But they had rookies heavily contribute to those draft classes. I mean, the Super Bowl MVP, he wasn't a rookie, but he was a third-round pick for the franchise. The Jaguars have tried to talk about being a draft and develop team in recent years. But specifically the last 2 years, most of the rookies they've drafted haven't had a clear path to playing time. The onboarding process has not been very successful. There have been some notable exceptions. Anton Harrison started every game. Brian Thomas Jr. was obviously spectacular as a rookie. Trayvon Walker and Devin Lloyd got a ton of run as rookies. But overall, the Jaguars haven't been a team in the last few years that is willing to let its rookies see the field. I mean, just the last couple of years. Tank Bigsby and Brendan Stranger day 2 picks as rookies, and they barely played. This last season, Mason Smith, the second-round pick, barely played for much of the season. Jordan Jefferson, Javon Foster, fourth-round picks. A lot of rookies picked within the first couple rounds the last few drafts who just simply have not gotten a lot of run. That was in large part because the Jaguars would have, mid-tier veteran types on the roster and on the depth chart ahead of them. And I think as a result, that is kind of why the Jaguars roster became what it was when James Gladstone and Liam Cohen walked into it this offseason. It needs an injection of youth, but also these draft picks are supposed to develop and become the floor of the team. Become, really the foundation of the franchise. And because they didn't play, because they didn't develop, the Jaguars had to go out and get 10 new free agents, including 9 on the first day of free agency. Now, Jaguars definitely spent a lot of money but they didn't spend it all in one place. They didn't hand out any massive deals. I think if you're ranking in terms of total value, all the free agency contracts that were handed out, I think Patrick McCary is somewhere between 27 and 30. It's a far cry from years where they've had 5 to 3 guys all within, the top 20 of highest paid annual value free agents that cycle. So I think that's important. I think it shows that they had to spend in free agency, in my opinion, because they felt like this roster needed some depth added immediately because the past few draft classes have not provided that depth because they weren't developed. They didn't get a chance to play, and now it's too late. I think if you look at how the Rams operate in free agency now, it's kind of how I think the Jaguars will. Like they took a big swing on Devontae Adams, and then they filled in the rest of their free agency signings with a bunch of complimentary guys. I could see that being the Jaguars moving forward. Ultimately, I think it's clear that they're following the Rams model, and it's understandable why. James Gladstone is a big part of that model in Los Angeles, and time will tell how successful it is. But I think the Jaguars are set, like I said in yesterday's podcast, if they make 10 picks, I'd imagine 10 rookies make the roster. I think they will place a high value on that. Thank you guys for joining me for today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. We'll be back next time.